I will care for you if you let me. I will put the tea on, hold your hand, hold your heartbeat, wash your feet, and sing your songs. I'll care for you, willingly, freely, faithfully. I won't keep tally. There won't be a column of things I've done for overwhelm and debt. I won't ask you to be somewhere you're not, or to be somewhere you cannot get to. I will care for you, tend to your spirit, remind you that we belong together and to each other. Our lives entwined because we choose each other, this community. Bring to me all you are, and I will care for you. I'll start here, in this sanctuary, in these moments of worship, in prayer, in worship, in life. Amen.
Please stand and body your spirit for our opening hymn. Number 131 in the gray hymnal, Love Will Guide Us. Number 131.
The main character, Jenny Worth, is just starting as a midwife in the East End of London. She experiences a moment of disgust and overwhelm at witnessing the awful experience of one of her expectant mothers. She apologizes later to the nuns she works with by saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't know people lived like this." Sister Julianne replies, "But they do, and that's why we're here." This line really moved me. Perhaps the most important thing I've learned from people in poverty is that what they're experiencing is real, no matter what my own personal feeling about it is, whether it's right or wrong, whether it should be or shouldn't be. Their experiences don't go away simply because I don't want those experiences to be real. Their lives are real. And so before anything else, before solutions or judgments or disgust or even overwhelm, is this simple, gentle call to witness, plainly and openly, what is real. The only word I have for this is love. To me, this is a tribute to all the people throughout the ages who have witnessed the horrors and hardships of humanity, and rather than turn away, judge, or fix, simply began with, "But they do," and that is why we're here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I love to be here. I feel that my life has been entwined with the Universalist church many times. I used to own the house next door, and I always looked at this building and I thought, oh, that would be a wonderful school, or that would be a wonderful thing. At that time I used to have daycare, little daycare, about 4 kids, and I used to think, wow, if I could afford a building like that, perhaps I can have a lot of children that would come and I could teach them things. Few years went by, and I started working at YCC. And the Universalist Church was housed at YCC for many, many years. And I was the person in charge of making sure your setup was done. So if I ever messed up, sorry. I should put a stone ask for forgiveness. I remember talking to Matt. Some of you may remember. This is a long time ago. Matt was one of the pastors. And he would talk to me. He was very kind and loving toward me. I always felt accepted and loved by him. And he would say, one day we're going to have our own building. And I know YCC wasn't the same when you guys left. It was a void. It was hard. I think people were happy that you found your own building, but it was hard. It was a grief to let our friends go. And I was so happy when I found out that this was your new home. And then later on, a few years went by, and now we're back. And you guys are part of Family Promise. I was not surprised what I find out about my clients. They love the Universalist Church. They love it because they feel love. They don't feel judged. They feel accepted. And that is a wonderful thing. From the Buddhism, we learn a person's most useful asset is not a head full of knowledge, but a heart full of love, and an ear ready to listen, and a hand willing to help. From the Jewish tradition, we learn that the 5 simple rules of happiness are: free your hearts from hatred, free your minds from worry, live simply, give more, expect less. One of my favorite stories in the Bible talks about one time Jesus was out and about healing, and he was healing in a house, and the crowd had come. It was a lot of people, and there was a group of individuals that they were carrying a friend of theirs in a bed, and when they came to see Jesus for him to heal these men, there were so many people they couldn't come inside. And a lot has been taught about the men and the interaction with Jesus Christ, but very little is talked about those volunteers. Those people that offered to bring that man in the bed were volunteers. He couldn't come himself. So the volunteers decided that they were going to bring him in. They came, they brought him in, and no surprise, they couldn't get to see Jesus because of the amount of people. So these volunteers knew what love was in their hearts. They did not give up. They found another way. They thought outside the box. And so they decided to dig a hole in the roof. And they lowered the man down too close to where Jesus was, and he was able to heal him. I always thought, wow, that was clever. Who would think to dig a hole, and what the owner of the house would think about that? He probably wasn't very happy that these volunteers dig a hole. But this is the kind of work that we do at Family Promise. We don't have much. Our budget barely covers our rent, our lights. We depend on our volunteers. When I first was introduced to Family Promise, I loved it from the first time, because I thought this is kind of clever. They're using churches, and so we don't have a big budget. But then later on, I understood it's not just about the churches. It's not about the building. It's about the volunteers. It's about these homeless families are scared, traumatized, afraid. 87% of the children that are homeless are afraid that something really bad is going to happen to their families. So they cannot concentrate in school. They don't eat. They're depressed. They have anxiety. So when the families come to the different churches, they not only get a meal and a warm place to sleep, they get love. They get acceptance. And that is something regular organizations cannot duplicate. Because a case manager can be very nice, but we have rules. We have boundaries that our profession puts on us. We can show kindness, but we cannot give the love that you guys can as volunteers. Maybe some of you that volunteer for Family Promise remember, and I'm not going to say their name because we keep that confidential, but there was in the program a mom that was pregnant that came with a young little boy, about 8 years old. And she came with her boyfriend. And she was one of our first families. I got to see her. She came with us in about May 2017. I just saw her a few weeks ago before Thanksgiving. And she had flourished. Her and her boyfriend are not together, which I think is a good thing. Her son that was a little baby, he's a 2-year-old now, and the baby she was pregnant with is walking. She is healthy. She has her own apartment. She has stayed house all this time. So that is the work that you guys have done. Thank you. Thank you for helping my clients. Thank you for accepting them. Thank you for not just giving them a fish, but teaching them how to fish. Thank you for the love that my clients feel when they come here. I feel the love. I feel embraced and humbled by your love. I appreciate you. Is it perfect? No, but we're not perfect. We're humans. And the program had had its up and downs. We didn't know how to put all this together. It's been a learning process. But I love that you have been part of this through the very beginning. I want to tell you that our clients love your congregation. They love it. I had people ask me, well, can we not just stay with the Universalist church every single week? I said, no, that's not how the program works. We just all have to do a little bit in the different churches, get to share a little bit. I picture this about kind of when you lift a big item, like a big piano, for example. If you have a group of people huddle around the piano, everybody can lift where they are. With a little bit of help, you get to move that big piano anywhere you want. And I want to tell you, you are helping me move these clients to security, to being housed, to being safe. You are really walking the path that you preach, that you talk about. I am so very thankful. Today I had come to talk to you about my grateful heart. To ask you, please keep helping. We need you. Not only because of the help you provide, but you're teaching. Your ripples move beyond the clients that you help. Other churches are learning from you. Other churches are learning to be less judgmental, perhaps, or learning that anyone can be accepted, or learning that perhaps we don't need to work in silos. We can hold each other's hand and walk together. There are people in our community that need you. Thank you for opening your hearts, for sharing your treasure, your talent, but most of all, thank you for sharing your love. Blessings to you.